Hey everyone, my name is Charlie and today I would like to share my thoughts on The Trouble with Mrs Montgomery Hurst by Katie Lumsden. This is a book set in the small town of Melford in 1841 and follows the various characters who live there after Mr Montgomery Hurst announces at a ball that he's planning on going down to London and getting married the next day to a widower they have never met. Katie says that she was inspired by Elizabeth Gaskell, Jane Austen and Anthony Trollope when it came to writing this book, and I have to admit I noticed more of the latter's influence when it came to this book. However, that is simply because I haven't read as much of the other two authors. I noticed the influence of Anthony Trollope in one of the central themes to this book, which is the fight between love and money, and we get to learn more about the Victorian marriage customs, I suppose, than I had previously known. I suppose you see them referenced in Victorian novels and you can garner some sense of understanding about the way marriage worked, but from this book, I really think I got more of an idea about what it actually meant. This is such an incredibly witty novel. Some of the remarks that Amelia makes are so biting and are one of the reasons that I enjoyed her as a heroine. But I also like the fact that we came to examine that and her character towards the end and how other people might actually see that and the reason that she was able to get away with so much. And I did like that discussion of class between characters that took place in this novel, which others, such as Amelia, had taken for granted. I adored the characterization within this book. Every single character felt like their own person and they had their own story to tell within this novel. This is more of a character piece than a book about just one central character, although you could say that Amelia Ashpoint is the nexus that all of these other characters surround. She is something of the every woman with regards to this novel. She doesn't give a jot about getting married really, and we understand why from the beginning of this novel. Which was quite an interesting aspect in addition to the story. And I knew where that part of the story was going to go simply because of something that Katie said a few years back when it came to the love stories that she was writing and how she enjoys seeing them end. But I was glad that she didn't have that be the resolution for every single character. It just felt very fitting for the character of Amelia. I like the way that Katie ended the book and the way that every character's stories threads tied together. And I like that sometimes it wasn't always the happiest of endings, but they were endings that actually felt right to the story that Katie was telling here. And because I'd spent so much time with these characters, I really was invested in finding out what was going to happen to them. I think that another aspect that I liked about this, and it might not have been something that Katie was going for, but it was the fact that every chapter felt like you could stop there and then go about your business and then come back to it. It felt very much like a serial in that way, and that's why whenever I've been talking about this book I've kept saying that I would love to see this adapted as some sort of radio serial. And I say that because I also feel like there could be this expanded universe where we just follow these characters for years and years and years for 15-minute intervals every day just to drop in on them. If Katie were to maybe not necessarily write a sequel but to write maybe short stories about the characters in Melford or write something similar, another comedy set in the same era, I would be here for it because this was superb. Katie also created a villain who riled me up the way that some of Dickens' villains have riled me up in the past. I got so angry at this character who is just a proper cad. I really wanted to see him get his comeuppance. And naturally, the story ends the way that it probably would have ended for that character, and it doesn't have this like Dickensian resolution where everything proves wrong for this villain. And it fitted the story, even if it was one of those where I wouldn't have minded if that part, if that character had ended his story on a cliffhanger, literally, like take him to Beachy Head and just drop him off, that sort of thing. I've just revealed the gender of the character, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm going to miss the characters having finished reading, and I did take my time with this. I took 2 weeks with the reading of it, and I'm glad of that. I think that it's a perfect book for some nice, slow reading. If you just want to nestle down somewhere and read it, then you could do, but I very much appreciated, like, getting through the day and then thinking, oh, I get to go and spend some time with these characters now. I look forward to revisiting this in future. I mean, I always look forward to seeing what Katie's going to bring out, but, you know, like, if we're going to see anything more of these characters in future, I wouldn't say no. But like I also said, like, little spin-offs, you know, Barbara Pym did that, or mentioning our lives have gone for the characters in future books, maybe, you know, just the line here or there so I can find out how they're getting on. But I do look forward to going back to this one. It made me smile a lot, it made me feel a lot, and as somebody who replaced his heart with a bread oven in 2007, that is not something that happens often, but it happened here. I am so thoroughly impressed and in awe of this book. It is simply brilliant, and I can see Katie's influence and inspiration, and just did a stellar job with this one, so I commend the author for that. And that is The Trouble with Mrs Montgomery Hurst by Katie Lumsden. Have you read this book? Will you be reading this book? You really ought to. Please feel free to discuss it in the comments below, and I hope that you've enjoyed this video, because until next time, that is all.